Hey, 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 this is your girl Sada Star coming to you with another episode of A Day in the Life of the Alpha Woman, the official podcast of the Easy Breezy Life community. Before we jump into today's topic, everything we share on this platform is for education and entertainment purposes only. Nothing we talk about is intended to replace professional advice, and we want to encourage you to reach out and get all of the help that you need, because after all, the Easy Breezy Life is a group project. Looking for a way to build a fashionable and trendy workwear wardrobe but can't seem to gather the coins? Then check out New York & Company's amazing subscription service, New York & Company Closet. Get access to hundreds of outfits that you can rotate on a monthly basis for an affordable monthly fee. Check out the link today in our episode notes to get access to your next fashionable wardrobe. Want to know how I saved tons of money on a Caribbean vacation while earning cash back? It's easy. The answer is Rakuten. Sign up online today using the link in our episode notes so you can start saving and earning cash back on your favorite online stores. And we are back. Joining me today is Dr. Charlene Lawson, a certified personal stylist, chemist, and speaker. She is the founder of Style Chemistry Consulting, a wardrobe styling business that helps women in business develop personal style and build dream wardrobes. Dr. Charlene is passionate about helping women realize they never have to sacrifice style for success or authenticity for ambition. In addition to shopping, she enjoys mentoring young ladies, playing bid whist, and being a mom to two outstanding young men. Hello, Dr. Charlene. How are you today?
Hello. I am doing amazing. And how are you?
I am doing fabulous this morning. Thank you so much for your willingness to join us on this platform. I think our alpha women are going to learn great tips and skills and also possibly find a stylist for themselves today.
Hey.
Yes, which we got to look good doing it. So,
Absolutely.
one, I just want to commend you. I mean, a chemist, a stylist, speaker, and you're raising two young men. How are you doing it?
Oh, gosh. By the grace of God.
Yes, lots of grace.
Just taking things one day at a time, honestly, and having a support system around me helps as well.
Yes, I agree. That support system is so important. I think a lot of times when people see a woman who has all of these great things going on for her, there's a perception that she is standing alone. And they don't really see the tribe or the people behind her who are rooting for her or supporting her, who are, picking her up when she has challenges. And
if a woman is doing all of, being the mom, running the businesses, being in corporate all on her own, I'm not sure how she does it. I feel like a support system is crucial to being able to do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have it.
Agreed. So I want to talk about allowing you to share a little bit about your journey. You're in Houston, Texas. Hey, Texas. Talk to us about how you merged your passions, how you got to this point in your professional and entrepreneurial career.
Okay. All right. I'm going to try to give a short summary. It's kind of a long story, but I'll tell you this. I've always had a love affair with fashion. I mean, I was born a diva, right? So when I was a little girl, I did lots of pageants, and I was voted best dressed in high school and all that good stuff. Right. So it's always kind of been in me, the fashion side. But growing up, I also excelled in math and science.
Wow.
And so when I graduated, I happened to be a mom at that point. So I had my first child as a teenager.
What
Right.
a story.
So So if it wasn't for that, I probably would have finished high school, moved to New York, and just like pursued a career in fashion. If it was just me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because I was a mom and I had to be a little bit more practical, I went ahead and took a more traditional route. And that's how I ended up earning my PhD in chemistry
Wow.
from Howard University, HU,
Wow,
in
that
the
is
Philly.
amazing. Wow.
Um, yeah, so I got my PhD, and then I was offered a position in the oil and gas industry. And so that's what brought me to Houston, Texas. And
Mm-hmm.
so my first day on the job, I remember it very clearly. I show up, I'm in like this killer black suit, a leopard camisole, some nice pumps, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to make a good first impression. So I come into the office and I'm given a tour by three young ladies, and they say, "Oh well, you look really really great, but we don't really dress up around here." And so I was kind of like, well, okay, that's fine, but that's I do, because that's always been my style and what makes me comfortable and what makes me confident. And so over time, I'm showing up to work every day, heels, dresses, just looking my best. And I start to see some of the women at work step up their game a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. So I start, so the seeds are being planted now. So I'm seeing I have some influence in the workplace. And
Mm-hmm.
then over 4 years in corporate America, just meeting so many amazing women who are educated, successful, ambitious, killing it in the workplace, but their personal style was not where it needed to be, and they knew it,
Mm-hmm.
and they needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And so helping my female colleagues in corporate to clean out their closets and to revamp their wardrobes, and just as a hobby, doing it for fun, seeing their confidence shift and how much I enjoyed what I was doing and the fulfillment is what birthed my company, Style Chemistry Consulting, to help women in business to discover personal style and to get dressed for
Mm-hmm.
success. So that's how it all came about.
That is amazing. That is amazing. So is style consulting what you do full time, or is this your side hustle?
So right now it is my side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the goal is to always go into full-time entrepreneurship,
Yes.
but I do still work in corporate America in the oil and gas industry as a consultant.
Mm-hmm. So for our listeners who do not know what this is the oil and gas industry, correct? Right? Wow.
Yes.
So this is probably a male dominated field also.
Oh, yes. It's very, very male dominated. As of right now, I am the only woman of color and one of two women that's in my department.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about 86 people or so in my department. And so you would think by 2019 it would be look a little different, but not much has changed in some industries. And so it's definitely a male dominated field for sure.
Wow. Wow. So I would love to hear a little bit about your experiences. It sounds like, the style was a conversation that came up. And I think even for me going into the workplace, my style is not like yours. I've seen your pictures. But even just putting any effort sometimes, and if you have presence, can be perceived as, either doing the most or being intimidating. Have you ever encountered that? And how do you deal with that in your work industry?
So, I hate to say this, but the most problem that I've had, and I'm sure you
Mm-hmm.
can relate to this as well, my problem has not really been with men in a male dominated field, it's with the
Uh
women.
huh. Everywhere, even in the female dominated fields with women. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm all about like women empowerment and women camaraderie, but in the workplace, it can be a bit cutthroat and it's just very competitive. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, I, in my experience, I'm just like this. Look, this is me. This is how I show up to work every day, and I put in my best foot forward. I just don't let the chatter really get to me, to be honest with you. I have been able to forge and build some great relationships with women in the workplace, but it does get to be a little catty, and so I just try to stay out of the gossip. You know, mind my business, and do what I have to do.
I think it's an interesting point that you make about women in workspaces and competition and not being able to support one another. And Unlike you, I work in a female dominated field. Like in higher education, you will find a lot of women at the lower and mid level management positions. When you get up to senior managerial roles, there are few and far women in between. And contrary to what I have experienced and expected, which I did not know the first time I kind of came into a senior leadership role, a lot of women do not support one another, right? So, like, even something as simple as style. I have a group of sister friends who will let me know on the side, like, girl, this pencil skirt ain't working. Here's a better one. Let's go shopping. That that is sisterhood to me. Like, I have a friend the other day, because I've been eating a lot of carbs. She tells me, she's like, I love you, but you cannot wear this pencil skirt. If you ain't ready to stop eating the carbs, wear an A-line skirt. Now, initially, I was bothered, but I realized that, she's telling me this in love and she's telling me this in private, and she's not saying it behind my back. She's fixing my crown.
Right.
And so I look at the work that you're doing with women when it comes to their style, and that plays a major role in executive present, and that is fixing another woman's crown. Essentially, that's your industry. So, what made you fall in love with helping other women versus just doing it for yourself so you could say, like, yes, I look great. Everybody look at me.
Oh gosh. Well, as women, we have so much pressure on us to we're moms, we're wives and girlfriends and sisters and daughters, and we're working and we're running businesses and trying to do all that and then still trying to look good. And if you're single trying to catch a date, it's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot to deal with. And so I know the struggle. And so
Hmm.
and I've come across women, in corporate that will come and tell me, like, I know how I want to look and I know how I feel on the inside. I just don't know how to
Mm.
express that externally. How do I do
Oh,
that? And so having that conversation over and over again, I felt that it was my duty to step in and to fix their crowns and to help them in that area. And at the end of the day, when we look good, we feel good. When you dress to
yes.
kill, you can tackle that boardroom or do what you need to do. And so, um, it really helps in all aspects of our lives, professionally and personally, to look good and to do our best. And so, I understand that, and my goal is to help other women um, get it together in the area of style.
And it's such an important part because I believe it's a Proverbs 31 women, right? She wears linen. She looks great. Every time that I see something that is promoting the Proverbs 31 woman, I'm like, how am I going to become her? And but in that scripture, the hidden piece is she has a lot of help, because I think a lot of times our society focuses on, well, or just like church in general, will focus on the part where this woman is doing all of these things, but they don't keep in mind that she has like handmaids, she has servants who are helping her, or she has help along the way. And when I look at being, courageous enough to step out and say, I feel this way on the inside, I want to look like on the outside, but I can't do it by myself.
Right.
And a lot of things that alpha women, who are a lot of our listeners, do is because we can kind of do it decently, we think that it's a good idea to just do it alone. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and we have egos and we have pride, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
also like a barrier in my business because, you know, for me to approach women, I don't really do that as much because you don't know how people, really feel about their style or how comfortable they are with how they're dressing. So I can't just like, oh hey girl, you're looking a mess. Let me style you. I I can't do that. And so the women have to um, really be able to, be introspective and say, hey, I really need to work on elevating my style. And because it's not just superficial, like image is important. When
Right.
someone sees you, the first thing they see before you open your mouth is, what you're wearing. And they're going to make lots of judgments just based on your appearance, right? And so for
Yes.
the women to say, my image is important, I'm educated, I'm successful, I'm smart, but I've got to get my fashion together, right? So we have to be honest with ourselves and then be able to reach out for help. It's really important. That's what has to happen.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. But I think what you're saying is also true, right? We don't want to approach people. And so it's kind of like when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Exactly. Exactly. We talk about a lot of self-care and self-improvement. And sometimes I think we kind of forget about um, our wardrobe, which is a part of self-improvement and self-care.
Totally agree. Like for me, I'm coming off of like 2 years of a very stressful period in my personal life with my son being in the hospital and all of those things. And I realized that along the way, I just stopped taking care of myself. Right. And I think that's what probably you being a mom of two could probably relate to. How do you stay on top of the children, your work life, your side hustle, which you're trying to grow into your full-time business, and yourself?
Oh gosh, it sounds like a lot when you say it like that.
Yes.
I guess
But
like
how are you balancing all of this?
I guess when you're in it, gosh, it doesn't really feel like that. You know, it it takes being organized and being intentional about everything that I do, right? And like
Hmm.
we talked about earlier, having the support team in place to help me out. So for work, if I'm traveling, I have, and I'm a single mom. So
Hmm.
if I have to travel for work or if I have conferences or meetings and things like that, being able to reach out to a girlfriend to say, hey, can watch the kids? And just being able to have people that are there to support you so that you can win.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a huge component of personal success. But what does a day in your life look like?
During the week, my schedule involves getting up with my younger son, who's 9, getting him ready for school, and off for his day. And then because I do work from home, which is definitely a blessing, I'm able to balance out my day job and running my business. And so that could include everything from conference calls for my corporate job to consults and online shopping for my style chemistry clients. I just balance it out throughout the day. On the
Hmm.
weekends, let's go back for a second. And then in the evenings, because I am building a business, you have to consider networking. So I try to
Hmm.
say, okay, in the evening, I'm going to go to one networking event or twice, 1 to 2 times a week, to get out there, meet women, get exposure, and to grow the business. And
Hmm.
so I balance that with swimming practice as well for my son and other engagements. And so that's kind of how my schedule is during the week. The weekends is where it's tricky because, there's always a brunch to go to or a conference to go to, or there's a client that needs shopping and styling. And so at this point, sometimes
Wow.
my son, I've gotten him hooked on the mall. And so he's so down. He's like, Mom, let's go to the mall today. And so he brings his iPad and we travel together and
That is wonderful.
he'll prop a seat and I'll shop around the mall and we make it work. So it's definitely just about finding balance, but planning out planning out what I have to do the day before. Like, okay,
Yep.
what's on deck for tomorrow?
Yep.
How am I going to get all of this done? Or what can I take off my plate? What can I push back to next week?
Hmm.
It's really, really important to being able to do what you need to do.
How does this work for everyone in your personal life? Like, I'll just tell you where I am, right? So, I am working full time in a doctoral program. My husband and I have a business, and Easy Breezy Life is something that I feel like must happen, that this is the time for something like this. And so, um, there really is not a lot of time for socializing. And I didn't hear a lot of socializing in yours. How do you keep the balance in your personal relationships?
Oh, well, I do a lot of socializing at my networking events.
Ah,
Yeah, so
it's
that
alignment, synergy.
yeah, because my target audience are women, right? And
Yes.
so I going to mixers or happy hours or an evening fashion show or what have you, it allows me to be able to kind of, to let loose a little bit and relax and have fun, but still also, be about my business, right?
Yes.
Networking and making those connections. And then, as far as like, a dating life, I'm dating someone who's also an entrepreneur. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's super busy too. So finding people that kind of are on the same page as you, I'm busy, he's busy. And so we have that understanding
Yes.
and we just make it work. So that
Yes.
helps.
Yes. Yes. So making sure the people in your life understand what you have on your plate. And it sounds like you are putting yourself in spaces with people who have similar values, similar interests, and can help you grow in different dimensions also.
Absolutely. Having a circle of people who are on the same page, have a similar lifestyle, similar mindset, similar goals, it definitely helps you um, to kind of combine the personal with the professional, and everyone's kind of on
Mm-hmm.
the same page.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about style. Um, Fall is upon us. I don't know what the weather's like in Texas, but in New Jersey, it is cold. It's turning on us. What would you say are some fall trends and tips that you think work outside, but also might be able to be brought into the workplace?
Okay, good question. So here in Houston, it's like hot year round, but we do have some cold. We do have some cold days. Okay, fall trends. So let's see. Okay, let's talk about boots and booties. Boots and booties
Mm-hmm.
are like essentials for fall, right? And you can transition those from the workplace to the happy hour to date night. So all women should have that classic pair of knee-high boots and that
Mm-hmm.
classic pair of booties. And so when you're going to work, you can wear those with pencil skirts. You can wear those with um, your suits. You can wear the ankle boots with those. And so then on date night, you can also wear those with your skirts and your dresses
Mm-hmm.
as well. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely number one for fall, boots and booties. Uh,
Okay.
what else? So, I mean, sweaters, right? Listen, I feel like in the workplace, it's always cold. So even if it's like 100 degrees here in Houston, and in the office, I'm freezing to death. So I kind of have my blazers and cardigans on deck year round. So
Wow.
you can always, a blazer is like my go-to. And you can wear those on casual Friday. You can wear those to dress up, some nice slacks in the office. You can throw it over your sweater for date night on the weekends. And so they're really, really versatile. So I'm going to say blazers and boots and booties are popping for the fall.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think that's a real point you make up. Like, I've noticed that when I go shop, I'm thinking like, so I spend 5 days at work, 1 day at church, and I have one down day. Whatever it is that I buy has to check all the boxes. Most times, I'm getting better about doing the casual. But I went from being in college and having like 80 pairs of jeans to having none, and now being like, well, maybe you need to have two. And so when you ask, like, when you're dressing your clients with different body types, what are some tips that you have for women based on their body types?
Okay, well, to start, there are five basic body shapes for all women, and those are hourglass, inverted triangle, apple, pear, and rectangle.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is, okay, being able to identify what is your body shape, and it may be a hybrid of two shapes.
Hmm.
So once you know your shape, it's understanding what's going to work well for your particular shape and what things you should avoid. So, for example, a lot of women of color, especially, um, have the pear shape, which is where we may be a bit smaller on the top half, but we're
Mm-hmm.
bigger on the bottom half. So we have hips and butt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
so
speak for yourself. I ain't got none. I don't got much of
oh,
that. But
well,
mm-hmm.
everyone's different. Everyone's different, but
Yeah.
a lot of women of color, some of us we tend to be a bit curvaceous on the bottom half, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so my biggest tips there is number one, if you have a pear shape, you have that small waist, but you have hips, and then you got a butt. And so keeping a tailor on speed dial and always buying your bottoms to fit your hips, and then tailor it
Mm-hmm.
to the waist. So that gives a nice
Ah.
tailored, sleek fit for your skirts and for your slacks. For women who are may have a stomach area, I
Mm-hmm.
always say avoid any clinging materials to the midsection. Keep the
Mm-hmm.
pops of color on the top. Wear accessories to draw attention from the middle to the top.
Hmm.
Let's talk about women who may have broad shoulders, like myself. So I was a gymnast for a long time. So lots of athletes and models, we tend to have broader shoulders. And so I
Mm-hmm.
say to keep the volume on the bottom half. So no voluminous poofy tops, no shoulder pads, none of that. But flared skirts,
Mm-hmm.
pleated skirts will give you more balance. And so at the end of the day, the goal is to, the ideal shape for most is the hourglass, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so the goal is to get back to that hourglass shape. So if you're bigger on the top, you put the volume on the bottom to bring back balance. If you're bigger on the bottom, put the volume on the top to bring you back to getting to that hourglass shape, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yep. Balance it out. This is basic math, right?
Right. Proportions, symmetry.
Yes, proportions. Yes. Okay. Those are great. Thank you so much for sharing those style tips. Hair. I feel like hair is an important part of style. And for me, hair is also somewhere where I really express myself. And so, but every hairstyle don't work for every work environment, right? So I can't go in with the side of my head shaved, and not in my work environment, because they're like, you're looking like Rihanna, but you don't work where Rihanna works. So, do you ever get into conversations about hair with the women you work with?
With men, so being in a I want to talk about corporate America too, and also
Yes.
styling. So in corporate America, let's talk about hair for a second. So, so being in a male-dominated field, and then predominantly white men, we'll just say that white men and women, there's always a conversation about my hair. So,
Mm-hmm.
because I'll come in one day with braids, and they're like, "Oh, it's just, it's so beautiful. Can I touch it?" And then I'll come in the next week with my natural hair with an afro, and I won't, girl, it'll be crickets. They don't say nothing.
Oh my goodness, don't know what to do. Like, I'm not really sure.
It's crickets.
If Charlene's all right today.
Exactly. And then the next week I'll come in with like straight hair or a weave. It's like, oh, I love your hair when it's straight, like low key. Don't have that
Yes.
afro.
Hmm. Right. Right. I've had those occur. I've had that happen. Hmm.
So I've had those experiences in corporate America. As far as with my clients, not so much. And I think that that's because, you know, um, we're getting more comfortable in um, expressing ourselves through our hair. So
Right.
we're okay with, and the natural movement is like on 10, right? So everyone
Hmm.
is rocking their natural hair, whether that be in braids, locks, the afros, and we're going to work. And so, my clients, we're comfortable with our hair. And I think that it's becoming more acceptable in the workplace too. What are your thoughts on that?
I think so too. I think when I first came into a leadership role, I felt like I had to, give you Michelle Obama in the White House.
Right.
So I stopped getting braids. I stopped it with the different kinds of wigs and weaves, and really tried to rock a standard style. But it felt so stifling. And over time, with the encouragement of my friend groups, people being like, you have to find the right balance between, yes, being work appropriate, but also being yourself. And so I work in a place where there are like very few women of color, and so I just have the conversation. I'm like, you got a question about my hair, you can ask the question behind closed doors. Don't touch it, don't stroke it. um
That's
and I also work in higher education, and so I try to also have an approach where I am allowing people an opportunity to learn, right? Because I've definitely had the coworkers who I'll have braids, and then the next week I come in with a bob, and she says, "Yeah, I didn't like that. You looked like an Egyptian last week." I'm like, "Okay, let's have a conversation about why that statement is not okay." So
oh
I try to also allow myself to be open. So if someone has a conversation about my style or my hair choice, I say, you can ask me. Be mindful of how you're asking, and I'm happy to have that learning moment. But my hair, I have decided that that is what's left of the sparkly side of me. So if it's braids today, if it's short tomorrow, if it's long the next day, as long as it's groomed, I'm doing it. I'm actually in the process of hitting up my wig maker now to make me a different look to go into November. So,
I love it. I love it.
yeah, it's
I
like
feel the same way.
so let's shift a little bit more to, the journey. I am sure to get where you are today, you have had to overcome a great deal. You don't become a PhD in chemistry, raise two black men, and start a styling company kind of breezing through life. I know you mentioned me having a child when you were a teenager. Talk to me about what you would say has been like your greatest defining moment so far.
Yeah, that's a hard question. If I could pick one, I would say, um, you know, uh, overcoming the odds. So just being a teen mom, the odds were not in my favor. Most teen mothers don't finish high school, let alone go to college. And so being able to complete high school, go to college, and not just college, but undergrad and graduate school, and to come out with a degree in chemistry, which, I hear
Hmm.
that there's, less than 1% of PhD chemists are Black women.
Whew.
So that's a big defining moment for me to just show other, especially young women. Now, I don't encourage you to have children, wait till you get married to have your baby, okay? But if you do, if you do happen to be a teen mom, or if you have any other obstacle, that your life is not over. It is not over. You can continue to move forward and to still, have dreams and to be
Yes.
successful. And so, I think that I'm a good example, of that. And then
Hmm.
you can do, you don't have to be, the typical, a lot of people major in, nothing wrong with that, the psychology, the education, that's great. But no, you can be a chemist, you can be a engineer, you can do math, you can do
Hmm.
anything that you set your mind to doing.
Hmm. Let's talk about the sacrifices that you've had to make to get to this point.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Lots of sacrifice. I was in college for 9 years, to get my PhD. And while I was going through, you always hear, "You still in school? You ain't done yet." And and then and that kind of like bothered me a lot, right? But now that I am done,
Yes.
I'm doing so much better than a lot of those people who were saying, you still not done, and so it's worth the sacrifice. And I always say this, like, okay, it's gonna take time, but the time is going to pass anyway, whether you're in school or not, right? So you might as
Right.
well just suck it up and do the work on the front end so that you can relax and be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor on the back end.
Yep.
So lots of sacrifice as far as not going to, all of the parties,
Nope.
pulling all nighters and not being, having to say no to the girl trips and to things that I really really wanted to do. Now I did
Hmm.
have a good balance. Now listen, I did turn up a little bit, so I had a
Hmm.
balance, but just being able to focus on the prize, and then being able to enjoy the fruits of my labor now. So I'm appreciative, of those sacrifices. But it does take a huge sacrifice, but it's worth it.
Yep. 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 I'm with you. And I think I've always been good about it in my past life, but my master's degree, I got it when I was still single, living alone, no child. This degree that I'm working on now with a husband and a child, whoa. Whoa. And I have to say that I have a lot of support with my son, but I still can't figure it out. I'm just trying to get up and get to work on time. But I think a point that you made earlier was really important, planning the day. I have realized that if I don't tell Monday what to do on Sunday, Monday's going to do whatever it wants. And
Yeah.
so
I hear you on that.
and so I really look at it, it's like redeeming the time. Like I need to make these 24 hours work. Beyonce only has 24 hours. Oprah got the same 24 hours. I have those same 24 hours. Where am I wasting time? And I think what you mentioned about missing some girls' trips, right? Like there have been so many opportunities to go out and hang out with friends this month that I've just had to say at the last minute, like, I really want to spend time with you guys, but it ain't gonna work. There's a deadline. And really designing life around the priorities so that when you do get that doctor, when you do hit the goal, you can live the life that you want or the life that you've been created to live, not the one that others are defining for you.
Right, absolutely. I think that the power of saying no is
Mm-hmm.
important for us to learn. And it's okay to say no. Like, it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't, I can't go there. And I think that it's also important, though, when we're juggling, everything, is to remember that we can do anything, but we can't do everything, right? And so what I focus on is doing what I love to do and delegating all the rest.
Yes.
That helps me as well.
So how do you do that? Because there has to be some part of your day of things that you don't like doing. How do you get through things that have to be done by you?
So we can start from the home.
Yeah. Ugh.
Like my clothes. I put things in the dry cleaners.
Yep. Yep. I do
I
that
don't.
too. I second that. Mm-hmm.
Right, I don't have time to be ironing and washing everything. I don't have time for that. So, delegating some of my home tasks is
Mm-hmm.
important. Even from grocery shopping. Have you tried like the at-home delivery or curbside pickup? Doing things like that to save time.
Yep. 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 I have not done it here, but when I was single, I tell you, I used every resource. And I had more time then than I had now. I don't know what it was about um getting married and giving into stereotypical gender roles, right? That made me think like all of a sudden you must do all these things. But in all honesty, I'm with you. I pay someone to do my laundry. Most times I'm paying someone to clean the house. The dry
Mhm.
cleaning gets done by somebody else. And I will cook one meal a week. I cannot work full time, be in school, do easy breezy life, do all these things, and also be a Stepford wife. And so let's talk about it because I feel like you also are challenging norms by being a woman in STEM and all the things that you're doing. How do you see yourself fitting into, I guess, the landscape of what quote unquote a woman is supposed to be?
Oh gosh, that's a complicated question. You know, I still desire to have like a traditional role.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning, I think I can run my business, be the CEO. And when I come home, I still want to be, I want to be the wife. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to run the house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I desire to be. So I think that, we as modern women, we can go out and we can make the money and bring
Mm-hmm.
home the bacon, but we can also still remain feminine and,
Mm.
be in a, people hate the word submissive. They
Well, let me tell
have
you,
such a negative
I've learned to do
connotation,
that. Let me.
doesn't it? But I think that, that as long as we have the right leader, that's a natural role for us to be in. So just being
Yes.
able to balance the two, I think, is where the struggle comes in. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm still trying to figure out, for myself. How can I be, an ambitious woman in business and successful, but still also, having that femininity and being able to kind of come home and not be in a leadership role in my home.
Yes, I think that's a struggle that I also have. And my husband and I are going on 7 years of being married, and I think I'm just getting it. Just trying to figure. And some days I'm good, and some days I'm out here apologizing, right? Like, because it is hard. It is hard to turn off that valve, especially when you're used to leading, and it sounds like you are someone who has a very strong personal vision, and knowing when to prioritize the personal vision versus the us, and us always being more important than the personal vision when it comes down to it at the end of the day. I think if you asked my husband, he'd be like, well, maybe I'm batting for 50, right? But yeah, but I just want to be honest and say that, like, that it is a struggle. It is, because it's like the trace that it takes to rise up through the ranks in for your sake, the corporate world, or for me in higher education, the trace that it takes to get to that point can sometimes become the antithesis to a well-balanced home and family life.
Absolutely. And I want to make a point here, though. I think that it's important for women, if you're not married yet, single women, it's so important to make sure that we pick the right partners.
Yes.
That are going to support us, that buy into our vision, and that their purpose and their vision is aligned with ours. So that's how it's all going to be able to work together, I think.
Yep. I'm with you. With that being said, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on this platform. Do you want to talk a little bit about the services you offer through Style Chemistry Consulting, and how the women who are listening can get in contact with you if they need your services?
Absolutely. So my services include closet detox, personal shopping, and speaking as well. And so what's great about Style Chemistry is that I work with women in person in Houston, Texas, but I also style women globally around the world through virtual styling.
That's amazing.
Right. So thanks to technology,
I know.
I can shop for you online and still help you to get dressed for success, whether you're in Houston or not. And so I just rolled out a pretty cool virtual styling subscription package. And so that allows women to get monthly outfits that are all handpicked by me. And all you have to do is open up the app, click add to cart, and you are on your way.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like it.
Like, no one has time to be scrolling, when you try to find, okay, I need a dress, right? And then you're scrolling through page after page after page online. No one has time for that. We're building empires.
Yep.
So,
yep.
So
Someone else has to think about this.
Exactly. So I'm able to do that for you, to find, what you need for work, for weekends, for events, and to put together your looks from head to toe. And you're able to buy all of that through virtual styling online. And so I encourage you guys to check that package out. Visit my website, which is www.stylechemistryconsulting.com. And you can follow me on all social media at Style Chemistry Consulting. And one last thing about the business, holiday season is coming up. So I know that we all have holiday parties and galas and all of that. So I am offering a special occasion styling package for till the end of the year. So please check that out as well if you need help finding a gown and still in the show, snatching some wigs at your next event.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Charlene Lawson. And thank you, ladies, for listening. As you know, we love you here at the Easy Breezy Life. We want you to go out this week, kick butt, come back next week, and let's do it again together.